the Healthy Discussions show. Hopefully, everyone is feeling well. You're feeling good. You're smiling. It's Friday. I know most people are excited because it's Friday, the last day of the week to work. If you're fortunate, you may be unfortunate. You probably have to work a little bit on the weekends. But nonetheless, you're getting it. You're on the strive, you're on the grind, you're on the hustle, you're on the move, you're trying to conquer something. All right? So I hope all is on a pursuit of happiness or whatever makes you happy. But today's topic, we're going to talk about the migrant crisis. And the migrant crisis has been going on for a while, but we're going to tie this back on how people are saying Kamala Harris don't have a policy, right? And she, being the vice president, the VP, right? She was responsible for the border control. She was labeled as the border czar. It seems to me she didn't do a good job at it because obviously millions of people are coming in this country illegally, right? Which then they are given in New York. I heard, right? In New York, in Chicago, and all of these sanctuary states, right? They're giving them a boatload of money. Your tax dollars is paying for them to be here, but yet you're underrepresented. That may be a problem. Or I would say, was this carefully thought out just for them to get votes? I don't believe in coincidence. You let all these people in, you incentivize them, in return, they're going to vote for you. Am I correct? But let's play this news update and let's critique it and let's talk about it. One moment. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. This is the beginning, this is not the end. Another episode of the Healthy Discussion Show. Watch this.
Part of the problems we're seeing is a real decline in the number of people enrolling in the police department, and you have a limited number of manpower. What we have been good at doing as social events, special events, parades, we have been really minimizing the personnel to make sure we can maximize coverage when we need to deploy, like the subway in Central Park. And so the team is going to be there. Chief Shell.
Eric Adam. Pause. Eric Adam. Now, why is it that all governors, right, all politicians, by the end of their term, all of them millionaires? Minimum. Why is it? I don't believe in coincidence. Can anyone answer that for me? Why is that even true? That's the part I don't understand. Why is that even true? And how is that? Are they taking money from the top? Are they making sure that their pockets is filled even if they're telling you that they have your best interest as far as American citizen? Now, mind to tell you, I'm a migrant myself, so I'm not against migration. You know, if your country is going through war refugee, that's a whole nother thing, right? But illegal migration, that's a problem. Legal migration, I have no problem with that. The United States need people to do work that the Americans don't want to do. So as far as America goes, don't be mad when somebody come and then take your position because you don't want to do the work. And or some people are going to say, hey, look, we can't even do the work that even if we wanted to. All these so-called black jobs are now considered Hispanic jobs because they're at the forefront. Can we talk about it? But let's continue. Eric, you have the floor.
Has a excellent ability of knowing how do you go in, identify the problem, bring that large number of personnel there to identify and send the right message to stabilize the park. We know what Central Park means to us. It's a symbol as well as a safe haven for many New Yorkers.
I mean, you see this very large police presence, but how long can you actually maintain that kind of manpower? I mean, what happens a week from now?
Pause. Let's talk crime. Now, and this is what I don't understand. Now, they say that in New York, right? the street team, the people with their boots on the ground, right? They say that New York, as far as crime, the Venezuelans, they messing it up. But then I begin to think, Venezuela is going through hyperinflation. They had a large population of criminals. The criminals were ordered to leave and or told by Venezuelan government, which is everything is interconnected. They have a pass to go to the United States. These criminals went to the United States, right? The crime rate in Venezuela, it used to be at an 80-90% crime rate. Now it's underneath at 10%. So their crime rate is going down. They're shipping their criminals overseas while our crime rate is going up. What kind of trade agreement is that? That's not a real good trade agreement. And this is happening under the Biden and Camilla administration. But yet we want 4 more years of this? Your vote, your choice. I'm just saying and seeing, right, that America needs more than just identity politics. They need actually someone to go in and actually try to fix these problems. That's just my opinion. Leave your thoughts down below. I really want to know what you think. It's not about what I think. I really want to know what you think. But let's continue. And then I look at the crime as this. So robbery is going up in New York. They're getting free money. You got these hotels, to me, they're in on it as well. The Roosevelt Hotel, every day that migrants stay there, they get paid a large lump sum from the government. So they're actually being incentivized to stay there. If you own shelters, you're being incentivized for each Hispanic person that you have, you get 16 bands. What that shows me is that in the near future, I need to have shelters because this is going to happen again. It happens every 4 years. I mean, I pay attention to patterns, right? And I pay attention to things. I'm very observant. And every 4 years, we talk about the same thing over and over and over again. This is how I say I can't blame the problem on the Democrats. I can't blame the problem on the Republicans. It's the actual system. The system need a software update because they're going from the Constitution and that's well outdated. Things have changed. You have a lot of older people that's politicians. Why is that? Why do they get elected and selected for so long? That needs to change. But that's a whole nother conversation. Because with that, people are going to be held accountable. If I knew I was in office for the rest of my lifetime and I can make that happen, I won't be as sharp. But if I knew I wanted X amount of time to be in there, right? You're going to try to please the people more. Because after you finish, you got to live amongst the people. You can't stay on your high horse forever. But let's continue. Eric, you have the floor. Eric, you have the floor.
Now, 2 week a month. I mean, are we going to be having so many cops flooding Central Park? How long does this last?
No, not at all. It's called the surge. You identify when you're seeing a bump in crime similar to what we saw in the subway system. Remember we had that bump in January. We surged the police there, and we now have robberies at the lowest in the recorded history of our subway system. That's similar here. It's a surge. It's a serious presence to let those bad guys that may want to frequent the park send a real message that that's not going to happen. And then we're going to infuse new forms of technology. That's a lot of acreage. Yeah. And some of it is off the beaten path, and we're going to see an experiment on how well drones can complement police presence as well.
Interesting. Well, I know that your message is that New York City is the safest big city, but...
What? Did y'all hear that? They plan on using drones and new technology. So the technology I see them using, what technology you have them using in order to contain people? Maybe the frequency technology, where you shoot a concentrated frequency and it can make someone think, move in a certain manner, feel hot or cold depending on the frequency. So these are frequency weapons. Are they going to implement those? We already know they have them. Drones. What are they gonna do with drones? Y'all already see what's going on overseas. How they're using these robotic dogs as part of the government. Are those gonna be rolled out? Because I see that America and the whole world has a big problem. The older people are retiring, and the younger people, right? They're not replacing them fast enough. Therefore, it is a labor crisis. So we have a bigger problem at hand. I see why now. I kind of understand why, or I see it. I understand it a little bit clearer why Amazon ordered 750,000 robots, and they only have what, 2.5 million workers. So half of their fleet is gone. Why is that? I'm sure these big companies have data that we don't have, and I'm sure that they know things that's going to come that we don't. I just look at it as a labor crisis. And the thing about it is that I think the Hispanic community is going to be in for a rude awakening because, yes, they may be skillful, right? But do they have those skill sets that won't get replaced? Now, I think as a community, they do. This is why they're building your infrastructure out. Without an infrastructure, you cannot build. So I got them being rising, right, as far as classism. I got them bumping a lot of classes. I got them being in 5 to 10 years one of the richest class of people in the world. This is why, because they are building out our infrastructure. Can we talk about it? I just want to talk about it another episode. But let's continue.
This week alone, we've seen robberies in Central Park, a rape near Gracie Mansion, another rape on Coney Island. That indicates that crime is down. The stats indicate that. But your message to New Yorkers who are seeing this is what? Because this is giving them fear.
Something I've always said. You remember when I first came into office, when we were dealing with a 40% increase in crime and our homicides and shootings were up. I told the team and I said to the media, it's more than bringing down crime. People must be safe and feel safe. A lot of people criticize me for saying that, but that's the reality. And we know these random acts.
The thing is, Mr. Adams, how can they be safe if the environment itself isn't safe at all? It's an oxymoron. How could they be safe in a place where it's unsafe and y'all don't really know who's coming in and out? In fact, the state governors are playing, hey, you guys have migrants over here? Hey, ship them over here. Ship them over there. Ship them to Chicago. Ship them to New York. Ship them to DC. Ship them to Texas. So now, y'all can get more funding. Y'all can ask the government for more funding because now when the migrant numbers come in, y'all get to manipulate the migrant numbers. That's just how I see everyone's getting their money out of it. Because for each person, you get 16,000 if you were governor. At least and then New York is cutting back. They talking about all these policing, right? New York is cutting back on their police officers. Not only that, right? Police officers are retiring at an all-time rate, meaning that there are not enough young police officers replacing them. So what's going to happen to the police department? Is it going to become robotic? Maybe this is the push it needs in order for things to go on a robotical point of view. Because I don't see how you cut the budget of the police officer, but yet you expect New York to be safe. You move more criminals in. What is this, an experiment? You move more criminals in, it's not going to be safe. People are suffering from inflation and everything else. You have the black people now looking at the Hispanic people as food. I don't really see this ending well. Smash that like button, tell a friend to tell a friend, but I want to know what you think. How would this affect a community near you? Because I don't really, how is this plan on ending well? And I know out of chaos come order, but First, it has to be very much so chaotic. But let's continue. Eric, you have the floor.
Violence, like the person who illegally entered our country, committed a rape in Coney Island. These random acts of violence, they play on our psyche.
Yeah.
But when you look at the stats, it's very clear. We're the safest big city in America, and we're going to continue to drive down crime. Double-digit decrease in homicides and shootings, the major crime categories. We know we have to continue to make.
You know what my thought is? My thought is because y'all know New York just did those tolls, right? They did those tolls. If you come in inside of New York, you have to pay, especially if you're not a resident of New York, you have to pay an arm and a leg, right? But this also allows them to usher out all these. I mean, it's police state to me. All these cameras now they have face recognition cameras at every light, so they know who's coming into New York and who's leaving out New York. Just saying. Just saying. But let's continue.
Sure that we stay the safest big city in America, even with these random acts of violence that we're seeing.
Well, Mr. Mayor, can you just kind of explain something to us? Because you were on this show with Bianca and I a few months ago when women were randomly getting attacked in Central Park, yet we saw a massive show of force today. I mean, why does crime have to get...
Now, Mr. Adams, you know the women rights movement is super strong. You might want to get on that. You might want to get on that. Women walking up and down the street, people snatching purses, snatching identity. It's like New York to me is not a place to be. I see why so many people move from New York. While the migrants were going in New York, a flight of people that was already there is actually moving out of New York. As far as taxes, as far as safety, most people are relocating to Texas, to outer areas, like away from the city life. Because we all know if things hit the fan, the city is the first to go. Can we talk about it? But let's continue. Not inducing fear or anything. Let's just be aware of what's going on. It seems like it's a large money transfer and they keep on distracting you by all these headlines. Pay attention, right? Most people are going to lose their job. Most jobs are going to be obsolete. So what they going to roll out? Universal based income? I've been preaching that since day one. It's never going to crash. This is why. In order for the system has saying that they've been crashing since I was in elementary school, right? It's like every 4 years they say the same thing. I'm telling you, it's not going to crash. What they're going to do is print more money. If they don't run out of ink, ain't nothing crashing. Think about it. That's why it pays to know financial literacy because saving money, why? At a rate of inflation and a rate of the money devaluing itself, in 10 years, you back to square one. So you have to learn how to use debt to make profit. Because this entire nation is in debt, even if you're a billionaire. We're trillions of dollars in debt. So learn how to use debt to make what? Profit. But this is not financial advice. This is not financial advice. I just like to add value everywhere I go. But let's continue.
It's so bad before there's a major response. I mean, why not a couple months ago? Why is it always feeling like it's damage control?
To the contrary,
Ha
I shared with you.
She said it's damage control. You want to know why? I'm going to piggyback on what she just said. It's damage control because it's, guess what? It's policy control. That's why. It's policy control. So they're doing everything to me is Shakespearean. It's a stage play. They knew these things was going to happen. They allowed these things to happen.
We had a 40% increase in crime when we took office. And I gave you the stats on how well this city is doing. Always want to do more when it comes down to these random acts of violence. But I also want to be clear with New Yorkers. We don't have the police personnel that we've had years ago. We're struggling.
Why is that, Adams? So if you don't see the truth comes out, the more they talk. The more they talk. Like I say, you said that the city is going to be safer because of the police. We know that the police have been defunded or been slashed and cut. We already know that the rollover rate is not happening. People are losing their faith in the American system because people are being lied to. Ever since people are starting to wake up to say, you know what? Let me ask the W's, who, what, when, where, and how and why. Why is this? So you can't run the same game anymore. You gotta be extremely creative. The way I see it is, you guys aren't trying to be creative at all. You're pushing it right in front of our face, and everyone is realizing this. So I say, hey, why not tell people what's going on? We don't trust CNN anymore. We don't trust MSNBC. Y'all saw what they said about check my TikTok out. Y'all saw what they said about Joe Rogan. Kamala Harris tried to have Kai Cenat to do something along the lines that Aiden and Trump did. Kai said, hold on, wait a minute. I'm not even into politics. I know nothing about that. Which means that you're trying to pay people to convince people that she's the best thing for America. And we all know that she isn't. Because looks what's happening under her administration right now. Y'all don't have enough money to fund the police. And y'all took criminals from Venezuela and everywhere else, illegal immigrants. We're not talking refugees that came from Ukraine. We're not talking about refugees that came from, now y'all want to go to war with Iran. It's so many proxy wars that's happening. It's like America is losing on all forefront, even on the back end. And then as far as respect out the window, people looking at Americans like y'all are weak. That's no good. The eagle represents America. That's one of the strongest birds, which is linked to the dragons back then, if you understand what's going on. America, you're not looking so mighty anymore. You're looking very much so compromised. But let's continue.
The field academy classes, we're struggling with our correction officers. We have code red there. We're struggling even with district attorneys. We have a real problem in the city and country and our criminal justice apparatus. And so we would love to have a police officer on every block. But the reality is, when you're dealing with terrorist threat, you're dealing with thousands of protesters and marches, particularly after October 7th, and you're dealing with a host of other events. You have a minimal amount of manpower. You have to be smart how you deploy.
Let me ask you something about that, because you're saying we may not have the staff, but we do have the law. When it's enforced, obviously it would make us feel safe. Because we're talking about someone like Daniel Martinez, an illegal Venezuelan who has gang ties, arrested 22 times, 22 crimes in 6 months, has never been deported. Well, what happens then?
And that's another thing. I heard about a lady that got killed in New York by the migrants, and everyone's trying to sweep that under the rug. Why? And this was under Camilla Harris and Eric Adams, Brandon Johnson, all of these people administration. But no one's being accountable for their action. Why is that? It is unsafe for them to be here if you don't have a check and balance system for them to be here. You can barely check and balance the people that's already here now. But why is it so important for you to incentivize them and not incentivize the people that's already here? The way I say it is, history is happening again. And what they're going to do is use these class of people, use them, abuse them, and then get rid of them. The American way. They've been doing it for centuries. The American way. They use you. They don't give you credit. They create stories, right? To make sure that your kids lost. And when by the time they find out the truth, they onto something else. Can we talk about it? Well, let's discuss.
You're arresting these people, but obviously it's not preventing them from committing more crimes.
I'm so glad you're saying that, because you've joined the choir. I've been singing this song for some time, and I actually wrote the song. When you look at who assassinated and killed.
He said he's been singing this song for so long, he actually wrote the song. Well, that goes to show how much power do you have. Last time I checked, the governors have more power than the president. But yet, they're still being told what to do. No one understands that, right? They're still being told what to do. So if you've been singing the same song and nothing been going on, then what's the solution? I don't think it is one. I think they're gonna let this play out. I think it's on you and it's on I to make sure that we good, that we straight, that we're gonna be all right. We have to start working together. We cannot allow these governors, these presidents, right? We cannot allow these people to have our best interests because it's been years, it's been centuries, it's been decades have shown that they really don't have your best interests. They actually supposed to be working for us. Why is it that we're working for them? Ha ha. Can we talk about it?
One of our officers out in Rockaway, Jonathan, was shot by someone that was arrested over 20 times. Here you have a person that illegally came into our country, committed a sexual assault act, was released and came back and did it again. I am clear that we need to look at our laws that allow a person not to be turned over to ICE after they serve their time for a violent felony. I don't believe we should be allowing them to be a safe haven and continue to prey on innocent New Yorkers.
You know, speaking of the migrant crisis, I mean, we've seen a rise in violence at many of the shelters across the city, most recently Randall's Island. Now, you said that this will not be tolerated, but what's being done to address that crime?
Well, we have several shelters like the Herc. We have Creedmoor, we have Floyd Benefield, we have what you're looking at on Randall's Island. You look at these locations, you're having 3,000 to 4,000 people located in a small area that they cannot do anything but sit around all day. That's a recipe for disaster. I've been saying that for over 2 years now, that we need to give people the ability to run.
It was a recipe for disaster when y'all let them in. On that note, peace, blessings, and love. Tell a friend and tell a friend. This is the beginning. This is not the end. Another episode of the Healthy Discussion Show. Leave them comments down below. Smash that like button. I really want to know what you thought about this one. On that note, boom.